Hey guys, it's Evan from Find My Ancestry. I just wanted to hop on here and do a quick video tutorial to show you how I use the website Find a Grave to find my ancestors. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just open up your browser window, whatever browser you like. Go ahead and go up in this bar at the top and just type in findagrave.com. That will take you to this home screen, and that's what we're looking at here. And you'll notice up in the upper right hand corner, this register and sign in thing. You can just totally ignore that for now. You don't need to register or sign in to use it. You'll notice that I'm not right now, so just ignore that. I'm just going to start by entering in my great grandfather's name, Henry Peachy. And I'm not even going to write the year he was born and died because let's say you don't know it, or for him, he has such an uncommon name. I don't really need to get that specific. And you'll find as you do research, the more unusual a name is, the less specific you have to be in order to get search results. So I'm just going to write where I know he's buried and click search. And you'll see here is just one search result, and that is him. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. All right, and here's what comes up. Right here on the left where this image should be, if he had a photo of his gravesite, that's where the image would be. He doesn't have any photos, and I actually happen to know he has an unmarked grave anyhow. This won't come up on everyone. Some people do have images, but what we do have, and I want to show you here, is this biographical information, his birth, death, where he's buried in the cemetery, which cemetery it is. It doesn't say where he's buried in there because he's unmarked. And you'll notice he has a memorial ID. Every entry on Find a Grave has its own memorial ID. So that's his. Here's where his memorial is. You can see this is where photos would be. You could click on that. And this flowers thing, you can leave tributes to people on the site. Think of it as writing on someone's wall, but for dead people. So we'll go down to where we're already on this memorial section. I'm going to go ahead to get more out of this. Click on Ida Mae Cofer Peachy, his spouse, my great-grandmother. Go to her page. That'll come right up. And you'll see she also has no picture. She also doesn't have a marked grave, so that's not surprising to me. Again, we have this biographical information at the top, all this rich information. If I didn't know when she was born and died, this would have told me that. Now let's go down to the memorial. For her, you can see there's almost a mini obituary, which is really cool because it says where she went to school, where she went to church, a little bit about her career, her marriage, and just more about her life than just when she was born and when she died. I think that's a common misconception that this site only has pictures of headstones and birth dates and death dates. Not true. It's because all kinds of people upload other information, and this is just one example of that. So I'm not going to stop here though. I can see this goes up to her parents. She has one parent here listed. So this would be my great-great-grandfather. I'm going to click on him and show you his page. Again, here's his page with no photo, but I can see that he's buried at Crown Hill Cemetery, and I see the plot and section number. So I could actually go to that cemetery in Indianapolis and walk right up, and I could take my own photo if I wanted and upload it to this site using this little Add Photos button. Another tip, if someone doesn't have a photo, you can click Request Photo right here, and users of Find a Grave who are local to these cemeteries they are looking at can volunteer to go and upload a picture for you. And you can then pay it forward by uploading photos of a local cemetery for other people if you'd like. So that's a little tip for you. So we have his biographical information here, where he's buried, the plot and section number. There's no memorial information here, and that's fine, but we do have some great other info here. Here are his siblings. So that's more people to fill out my family tree if you're interested in filling out your extended family tree. I know some people just kind of want to go lineally straight back to just grandparents, but other people like to fill out more branches. And if you did, this would be a great place for that. Now, what's great here is we have a parent for my great-great-grandfather listed. So this is Elvira McClure Cofer, and she would be my great-great-great grandmother. So look how far back you can go just using Find a Grave. Again, her biological information is here. We can see she passed away fairly young, and we see the city cemetery she's at. Now, it doesn't say the location in the cemetery, but you can go to the cemetery office or whoever maintains the grounds sometimes and request records. And sometimes people will work with you and they will have an old archived list of plots and who is buried where. You'll notice for this entry, and this is kind of interesting, this photo that someone uploaded is not obviously not a headstone, it's not a cemetery. Let's click on it and I'll show you what it is. Well, this is an Indiana State Board of Health certificate of death. So this is my 3 times great-grandmother's death certificate. Now it seems morbid, but in the world of family history and genealogy, they're really important. So think of them as just another great source for you. I know the print's really small, but I'll just let you know. I can see the cause of death here. It says carcinoma, so she died of cancer. There's some other information about where she was born. So just by using Find a Grave, not only have I found this 3 times great-grandmother, but I have this great resource that someone has uploaded right here. So I can save this to my computer, I can screenshot it, or I can just make a note of the information on here, and that is some great research I've been able to do just using this site. So let me close out of this, and you just do that by clicking this X up in the corner. And it doesn't look like there's too much more on here that I haven't already mentioned. So I'm going to go ahead and do another search to find another way that you can use this website. So to go home and do a new search, just click this Find a Grave up in the upper left-hand corner. You can see it takes you right back home. And I'm going to search for another great-grandfather, Virgil Franklin. I also know that he was buried in Indiana. And again, Franklin is a common surname, but Virgil is not that common of a name. So I'm not going to get any more specific than that. And I'm going to go ahead and click search. And you can get as specific as you want, but for the purposes of this, I'm not going to right now. And that is my great-grandfather, Virgil Franklin. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And you can see the biographical information that comes up again like we've seen on others. And this is an example of the actual typical photos that you'll usually see on Find a Grave, the picture of headstones. I'm going to click on that and show you. So you may or may not know this, but there's a whole field of anthropology dedicated to studying headstones and tombstone art. There are different signifiers for different time periods, and it tells us kind of the way people thought about life and death, the afterlife, and things that were important to them. I'm not sure what this little flower signifies, but that's a whole other can of worms that you can get into sometimes. So it's one of the reasons it's worthwhile looking at these headstone photos. So again, I'm going to click out of that and go down to his memorial. Someone has filled in some interesting records here. They have some burial records. Those are these right here. It says his last residence, place of birth, age of death, gender, and the cemetery. And you'll notice here, this is why it's important to read everything. Up here, it doesn't say the cemetery location where he's actually at within the cemetery. But if you look down here, these burial records say section and lot N13. So if I hadn't scrolled down, I wouldn't have been able to find him, but because I did, I know that he's in section N and lot 13. Now someone has also taken the time to list some other sources here. We have the 1920 federal census and the 1930 federal census, and these say where he lived and who he lived with and how they were related to him. So again, if you don't already know this information about a relative, you need to copy and paste it either into a Word document, into whatever family tree software or website you use, or just take some notes. And I'm going to have a course on how to use census records in the future, but for now, make sure you're writing things down as you go. I'm going to scroll down here and see what family members we have. Here's what this tells me. He was married more than once. I know that Elsie is my great-grandmother. Hetty is a woman he was married to prior to Elsie. We have his siblings. And one of his children, he had 2 other children that aren't listed here, that's another important thing to note. Make sure you're checking these sources against other records. If I had just looked at this and not checked, I might not have known he had other children. So it's great that Robert is on there, but there might be things that are missing, so just keep that in mind as you're going along. Here are his siblings. Again, if you want to do that extended family tree out into the branches, you'd have these people, and you can just go as far as you want back looking at siblings. And here, my favorite thing are the parents, so you can really go farther back into your tree. I'm going to go ahead and click on Mildred Shaw Franklin. So this would be my great great grandmother. And what's so great about this is it says her maiden name. Now you'll notice as you do more genealogical research that maiden names are kind of the key to unlocking records for female ancestors. So now that I know her maiden name was Shaw, I can look up records prior to when she was married for Mildred Shaw, because if I was trying to find a birth certificate for her, I wouldn't find it using Mildred Franklin because she wasn't born Mildred Franklin. So that's a tip for you. Now let's look at this headstone. See, this one has some ivy on the outside of it. I don't know if that has any significance, but that's one of the things that's interesting to look at on this website are the pictures of headstones and how they're different from time period and people and location and family. Biographical information is here along with her plot section and lot. There are the burial records again. Date of death, place in the age, gender. And then we also have another record someone's put on here from Roots Web, which I'll discuss in another time. But these are the records you found for her. And then I can, now that I know her maiden name, I could then go search on other websites, other databases for Mildred Shaw and find her early life records. So let's go down. I remember from the previous page, and I see right here that it lists her spouse, Jesse Franklin. I'm going to go ahead and click on him to show you another search result. This would be my great-great-grandfather. Here's some great biographical information. I can see he's from Tennessee. You'll notice all my other relatives so far have been from Indiana or Kentucky, so I have another state to look at. Plot and section number. It's the same photo, so I won't show you from earlier. And look at this. This is why I wanted to show you this specific entry. Someone has taken the time to upload my great-great-grandfather's obituary to Find a Grave. Now look at this great information right here. It says his funeral services, information about that, the church, the pastor, that he was held in state, which is basically a showing, kind of an old-fashioned way of saying a showing, what he died of, that his wife preceded him in death, and who the pallbearers are. So I want to point out something interesting. I don't know if you'll remember from just a minute ago, but his wife's maiden name was Shaw. I can see that an honorary pallbearer here is W.N. Shaw. Now, I'm guessing, and I actually know because I've done the research, that that would be related to his wife with the maiden name Shaw. And that actually unlocked her whole family for me. Just by using Find a Grave and finding this obituary, I was able to go back, search for Mildred Shaw and W.N. Shaw in a household together. I found out he is her brother, and then I was able to find their early life records. So other than this just being really cool to see this obituary, looking into each little bit of information it gives you can unlock other doors in your research. Again, make sure you're saving this to your computer. You can copy and paste it like I'm doing here. You can write it down. You can screenshot it, whatever you'd like to do, but make sure you're saving things as you go because you will lose track if you just keep going further and further back without saving along the way. Again, we have some burial records, and someone has listed some other sources on here that I can then go cross-check with other genealogical databases. So that was just a really quick video tutorial on how I use Find a Grave. There are a lot of ways to use it. You can see there are a lot of other options on this website I didn't go into, but I didn't want to overwhelm anyone. This is just a basic overview. So I hope it's been helpful to you. I'm definitely going to make more of these video tutorials in the future. Thanks so much for joining me and being a part of Find My Ancestry, and I'll talk to you soon.